Hey, trucked up guys and gals. So I'm on my way to Vancouver, going right across the province of British Columbia, about 800 kilometers or so, about, I don't know, was it 500 and some miles. And I'm heading there to shoot two amazing stories about two amazing people using their EV trucks to do really cool, amazing things. Anyway, that's where I'm going. But on the way, I started to see all the comments that are coming up every time I stopped on my newest video on Slate Auto. You know, that exciting one that I just posted on that new truck, tiny little truck, affordable truck, $25,000 truck. And it got me thinking, there's a reason why EV trucks and any truck is not that affordable anymore. And with EV trucks, you'd think it would be the batteries. Oh, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I'm gonna get right into the meat and potatoes of it. So stick around, let's get totally trucked up. So something started to pop up in the comments section, and it was about the affordability of this Slate truck. And by the way, the reveal event with Newsweek Auto is scheduled for tomorrow. So don't you worry, I'm going to get you all the meat and potatoes on that when it comes out, and I'm going to do an update, and we're going to get right into all the nerdy stuff and find out what we can find out about this new affordable truck. But about that affordability, so the first thing I noticed was, yeah, I want an affordable truck. I want to see a cheap EV truck. But here's the thing, what's the single cab stuff? I need to have a crew cab. I need to have seating for 6, maybe 5, and I want to have lots of storage space, and it's got to have at least a 6-foot bed, and it's got to be able to tow. And if it doesn't have any range, I'm not interested. You know, for me, those are the kind of the bottom line things. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, okay, so if you do that, then it's no longer a cheap truck. That's like saying, okay, well, I want affordable housing. We need affordable housing. You can't get a cheap house these days, but I'd like to have 6,000 square feet, a tennis court, some jacuzzi jets in the tubs, maybe 3 or 4 bathrooms. I'd like to have one of those super kitchens, solar on the roof, maybe heat pumps, and a helipad. What? You can't have your cake and eat it too? Well, maybe you can. I don't know. It's kind of a stupid saying when you think about it. I'm pretty sure you can have your cake and eat it. There'd be no point in having cake. I mean, we want to just get a piece of cake and just stare at the thing. Oh, look, a piece of cake. You can't eat it? Oh, why can't I eat it? Oh, it's too expensive? I don't get it. You already have the cake. You got the cake. If you got the cake, then you should eat it. Anyway, I think the point that they're trying to make with the cake and eat it too thing is you're asking for too much. If you want a cheap truck, you get a cheap thing. If you want to go and buy a hula hoop, you're going to spend a few bucks. But if you want to go buy what am I even thinking of? What the is I'm going to talk about a hula hoop? If you want to go buy some cheap footwear, you don't go to Gucci. If you want to take a cheap flight, you don't call up and ask for first class. There's a reasonable expectation of what we will get for the money that we pay. We have to look at how can we get the cost down to make it affordable and get the most out of it. And if we're going to EVs, there's a formula. And we're going to get right into that because you have to have this to be able to get there. What do we need to look at right up front? So we always hear about the batteries being the major expense, but all those other things are huge expenses. Let's go back to the 1970s, right through to the 1990s. There were little fart trucks all over the place. Remember them? We had the Chevy S10. We had the little Datsun, tiny little fart. Had a 6-foot bed, single cab. It looked like some kind of little wedge. It looked like a door wedge with a box. Funny, I can think of another truck that looks like that. And then there was the Toyota T100. There was the first edition of the Ranger, the Ford Ranger. Almost all of these were single cab, or some of them had like the super cab, the suicide doors in the back, and you can have little jump seats. And then we had things like the VW Telos Toboggan. I don't remember. Anyway, there was a whole bunch of those too. There was a whole bunch of these little farts all over the place, and there were tons of them. It was kind of filling in where the K trucks were in Japan, but for the local market. And they were everywhere. Everyone was buying these little farts and using them. So what happened? Well, if you remember way back in the I'm old. Back before, we had cell phones, before we had faxes, when we had to do oil paintings of things that we saw, something like that. Anyway, if you go back and you take a look at even SUVs, the first Explorer, the first ones that came out of those, they're just like boxes with a steering wheel, maybe an AM radio. They didn't have a lot of stuff in them. And that kept the prices down. The problem was the OEMs didn't really like them very much. And the reason the OEMs didn't like them very much is they didn't make any margins. They didn't make any shit piles of profit. As the complexities rose, and as the expansion of the trucks, they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and there was more metal involved, and there was more accoutrements involved, and there was more flexibility involved, we ended up with a long box crew cab F350 diesel, Power Stroke or Cummins or Duramax, and we have all these expansions to the point where you can't see the end of your truck because of the curvature of the freaking earth. But anyway, for all those people who want an affordable truck, take a look back in history to find the answer. And the answer is in single cab, small motor, or limited range EV, which we don't have as an example, but I'll get to that. And we take a look at the functionality of it, that it's lightweight, that it's versatile. We all say that we want to tow. I get it. And there's a whole bunch of you out there who tow. But for the other 84% of pickup truck owners who we know may say they tow, don't. Because in every one of these trucks, whether it's gas, diesel, hybrid, or electric, there's modems. There's a control module. Every single one of these manufacturers can plug into these vehicles and look at what's been used. Hey, was the hitch ever plugged in? Was the plug at the back used? Did it trigger into tow mode? They can look at all the data in the truck, and over that huge mass big data pull, they can see that 84% of trucks in their lifespan never had the tow hitch hooked up, never had the plug used, never went into tow mode. So we know that a huge percentage of trucks don't tow. And when it comes to hauling, most hauling is short distance, not long haul. For a vast majority of truck owners, they don't tow, or they don't tow any great distance, and they don't haul that much. They put bikes in the back, they go to Home Depot, they load up some lumber, they have a project at the house, they go get soil, they go pick up plants from the nursery to work on the garden. That's what a lot of trucks do. Very utilitarian, very useful, and doesn't negate the fact that a truck is a great thing to have in your driveway. However, most people don't need all those accoutrements, but they're paying for them. So when it comes down to how can I get a truck for an affordable price, we all have to take a good hard look at what are we using our frickin' trucks for? And when we do that, we're gonna find that about half the stuff that's inside one of our pickup trucks is never used. An example of that is everybody wants a crew cab because they want to go do something with somebody. But at the same time, the average North American has 2, sometimes 3 vehicles. And with those vehicles, they have an SUV because they're one of the top selling items you can buy. Model Y, the CR-V, the RAV4, all the compact SUVs and full-size SUVs sell like hotcakes. And they hold a crap pile of people. They're people movers. So do we want to use the truck as the SUV? Or do we want the truck to be the truck and the SUV to be the SUV? The reality is, I just saw a dozen trucks, including long boxes, short boxes, huge ones. A beautiful Ram just drove by, a 3500 series. Cummins, I believe, had the full extended 8-foot box, had 6 seating in, well, I don't know if they're not bench, so 5-person seating, went by, had some stuff in the back of the box, could have easily gone in a smaller box, but he probably uses it for something bigger, and he was the only person in the vehicle. And every single pickup truck that just went by me on the highway had one person. If we do truly want an affordable truck, there's only one way to get there, and that's to strip out all the stuff that's costing tons of money. And on top of that, if we're going to an EV, the less weight you have in the vehicle, the better the batteries provide you your range. These are interconnected. If you want to go a longer distance and you want to have an affordable truck, take out all the weight and you can have a relatively decent sized battery pack, and the less of a brick driving through the air that the truck can be, the better aerodynamics it has. I don't think the Slate looks like it's some kind of aerodynamic wonder piece. But all of those things factored in, you're going to improve your range. So if I take out a crew cab and I make it a single cab, if I take out the need to have a payload at 2,500 pounds and I bring it down to 1,000 pounds, look at the Maverick. The Maverick's a unibody, and it's not going to tow a lot of weight, just like the Santa Fe. I think it's a Santa Cruz, Santa Fe, Santa something. It's something with Santa involved. What the fuck? If we take a look at all these smaller beds, you're not going to get massive payloads out of them. So do you need a massive payload? Are you putting in a ton of soil? Are you putting in a ton of gravel? Are you hauling several yards of mulch? You know, you have to ask yourself those questions. And if you're only doing it once or twice, do you have a utility trailer that can pull it behind you and make your life easier anyway, which almost all of these trucks can do. Once we start taking all these pieces out and we bring it down to the bare bones, that truck can now easily get 200 miles because it doesn't have to haul around all that extraneous crap. Anyway, if you haven't watched the Slate Auto truck reveal video, $25,000 truck, we know more about it. It's no longer a rumor. You want to check that out right here, and thanks for watching.